just a second, we're going live to LA to talk to my friend Jill Pringle, who lives in the middle of it all. That city, the famous city on the West Coast, City of Stars, City of Lights, where all the big superstars live, is under siege from this massive wildfire sweeping through from neighborhood to neighborhood, some of them the most exclusive neighborhoods in all of America, never mind LA, the Pacific Palisades, where people like Tom Hanks and Jennifer Aniston, Bradley Stevens, you name it, they live there. Well, that place, many of those homes have been evacuated. 70,000 people are under evacuation, and more than 1,000 properties, structures have been destroyed by this sweeping fire, which is still being fanned by these very dangerous, strong, hot Santa Ana winds. So that city is literally on a tinderbox right now. So a tinderbox of tension. So before we go to Jill, here's a little clip of just a little snapshot of the horror that is going on there. I think this is two guys. It might be one man trapped in his house, surrounded by fire, with his terrified dog. Have a look at this. Hi. Just be okay? You gonna be okay? Hi? Yeah, don't worry about that, dude. Jeez. Look at that. Blimey. Yeah, two guys and a dog there. Look at that, surrounded by flames. Now, this is, wildfires in the LA area are not uncommon. Once a year they happen without fail. But they're usually outside of the city, places like Malibu, up the coast a bit. And they go across the hills. They don't go into the city. Now, this fire is different. It's essentially in the middle of the city. And I noticed today it's spread from Pacific Palisades, which is right on the coast, really, all the way inland to Pasadena. That's about 40, 50 miles inland. So, I mean, if you can see some of the pictures. Anyway, right in the middle of this is my old friend. She lives there, has done for many years, Jill Pringle. Welcome to the show, Jill.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you for having me on. Sorry it's under such unfortunate circumstances.
Well, yeah, you stay safe. But tell us, I mean, as you know, I lived there for quite a long time, and I've seen the fires. But I've never seen anything like this. This is extraordinary, and it's in the middle of the city, isn't it? And you were telling me earlier that they're cutting off the power. We've just about managed to get you in order to stop the spread of the fire via electricity centres and places like that. So much of the city is now being plunged into powerless darkness, if you like. The flames continue to spread. Stars and non-stars all being evacuated from their homes. Well, you were saying earlier that you right now, you live in the middle of the city. If you look up to the sky, it's just dark with smoke. Tell us about that.
Well, it changes every 5 minutes because these winds are so powerful. So 1 minute the sky is all dark and ominous, and I know this word has been overused, but it does feel like a war scene, like a apocalyptic colours, all of this darkness and greyness, and then suddenly there's this bright red orb of sun bursts out, which kind of looks huge and weird. And then suddenly it's just bright and normal, and then it goes back to the smoke. It's very scary because the winds are, as you know, they move so fast, they're unpredictable. Right now they've come down from about 80 miles per hour to 60, down to 50, which is normal red flag speeds for this time of the year with the Santa Ana. So I think everyone's just hoping that it stays like this. We just heard now that Anna Faris's house, $5 million mansion, burnt down in Palisades. So she was one of the victims. But as you say, it is in the city. Previously, Malibu feels much more like a country town in a way. So we were there on Sunday. We drove down Sunset Boulevard to Will Rogers State Beach, which you remember. So
yes, I do,
of that.
yeah.
that little ritzy area of Pacific Palisades where you have all of the boutique shops and florists and stuff, that area has gone up in flames. And you never expect that. You expect the more remote hillside stuff to go up, but not Sunset Boulevard. That doesn't normally happen.
Yes, 2 people have been killed so far. As I say, 70,000 people are under evacuation. At least 1,000 structures destroyed by fire. We can see there's a massive operation on the part of the firefighters, and I believe the other emergency services are all pitching in. But this is a city on the edge, isn't it, right now? Because these fires are still prospering, fanned by these very hot Santa Ana winds.
Yeah, everybody is literally living in fear. And we have, along with our California firefighters, crews are coming in from Arizona, from Washington State, from Oregon. So everyone's pitching together. President Joe Biden was here earlier today visiting his firstborn great-grandchild. So that was a bit of a coincidence that he was here. And ironically, because of his visit, they put a TFR, temporary flight restriction, on the skies above. So the helicopter operations, you know, when they throw down that retardant and the water, they had to hold up for an hour until the restrictions were lifted. But yeah, there's a lot of help pouring into the state. Of course, this whole town, Hollywood, operates all about showbiz and celebrities. So I'm a member of the Critics' Choice Association, and our big award ceremony was this Sunday at the Barker Hangar in Santa Monica. So we've been postponed. The BAFTA Tea Party would have been on Saturday. I don't even know if, right now they're saying they're cancelled. I don't know whether they'll reschedule. They normally piggyback off the Critics' Choice, knowing that all the celebrities will be in town for that, and then they can pop in for BAFTA. So everything's been cancelled. I was meant to be interviewing Zoe Saldana an hour ago, and that was cancelled, even though it was on Zoom. So I have to imagine that she probably lives quite close to the fires, and she's just taking care of her family.
Yeah, let's run through some of the celebrities. But this, got to stress, of course, it's a big showbiz town, Pacific Palisades, where a lot of the big stars live. But this is not a celebrity story. This is about a city under siege from a terrible inferno. This is affecting millions of people. But just to let you know, audience, some of the people who live there: Eugene Levy, the reality stars Heidi and Spencer Pratt. There was pictures of them earlier watching their house burn down. Steven Spielberg lives there, Ben Affleck, Diane Keaton, Michael Keaton, Jamie Lee Curtis, Tom Hanks and his actress wife Rita Wilson, Miley Cyrus, Mark Hamill. The list goes on. But you know, in this instance, these are just residents of an area that has been ravaged by an unprecedented fire.
Yes, yes. And as you say, it's not just a celebrity story. It affects everybody that lives in this town. So you'll remember from when you lived here in Hollywood. So everybody, once the Santa Ana winds pick up, you have your go bag by the door. That's a change of clothes, plenty of water, your passports, your insurance documents. You have that ready to go. So like last night, most people barely slept because they're hearing, you know, the wind is bringing down power lines. They're hearing trees coming down. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know when you'll be evacuated, when you have to jump into your car and get away. And my heart just breaks for the people that are experiencing this. And our own daughter, Grace, who you know, the house next door to her burnt down in November. Her house wasn't at all damaged, but they've been living in a hotel ever since, which sounds fun, but gets really old after about 5 days. And so, you know, I'm sure people watching it on the news say to themselves, oh, yes, everyone's got insurance, they'll be fine. But it's the emotional and sentimental cost, all of those memories that you've stored up forever and children that you've raised there. And, you know, hopefully you got your pets out. But there's so much at stake and it weighs heavy on the heart. It really does.
Yeah, indeed. What about you? Now, you're in the sort of Laurel Canyon area, which is right in the middle of the Hollywood district, if you like. I mean, are you under threat? I mean, have you been served a sort of maybe an evacuation notice or anything?
No, Kevin, we haven't yet. Though, as I say, the go bag is there, ready to go, but we haven't yet. We live in Laurel Canyon, and it's named Laurel Canyon because it's planted with laurel trees, which are part of the eucalyptus family, which are highly, it's like tinder. Once one of those goes up, and they all knock into each other, and everything goes up in flames. So everyone is incredibly nervous right now. Grateful that the wind is coming down, but yes, just poised to go at any moment.
Yeah. Now, you were talking earlier about the critics' ceremony that you were going to have on Sunday that now looks rather threatened, and you also, as I said earlier, mentioned that in order to stop the spread of the fires via electricity cables, electricity centres, they're cutting off great swathes of the power in Los Angeles. So presumably right now, normal life for virtually everyone is impossible.
Yes, that's absolutely true. Normal life has ceased to exist. And I'm sat here by my window, and normally there's plenty of cars going by, but I feel like everybody has decided to shelter in place. A lot of the schools are closed, but even the schools that aren't closed, the parents have sensibly kept their kids out because they want them to be close to them if we get evacuated. So everybody's there's just a sense of waiting for what's going to happen next, and being as prepared as much as you can do, digging out those insurance papers, checking in with everybody, making sure that you're on the correct websites for the fire department. So I can't tell you how relieved I am that all these firefighters are coming in from other places out of state to help take care of us all.
But as I said earlier, I've been through, it is an annual event that fires break out somewhere in the LA area. But I've never seen anything like this. This is on a new scale, isn't it?
It is, because we don't, as you said before, Palisades, even though a lot of it is in the mountains, it's also on Sunset Boulevard. It's also in this quite heavily built up, concentrated neighborhood. And I think we all say, when we live in a city, we think, well, the fire would never get out of hand here. We associate that more with the mountainside, where you have a lot of wild brush that hasn't been cleared up. We don't typically see it on Sunset Boulevard. So this is unprecedented.
Absolutely. You mentioned earlier that the winds do seem to have dropped a little. Is there cause for optimism now? Are the firefighters saying we're beginning to get this under control, or is that not the case?
I think it's 0% contained right now, which is always a scary thing to hear. But typically the fires, they remain 0% controlled, and then sort of all of a sudden it'll be announced that it's 70% or it's 80%. But sort of optimistic that the winds are going to go, but the wind advisory doesn't really show it coming down significantly till Friday, but nothing as strong as yesterday and overnight, that's for sure.
But the fires are still raging.
Yes, the fires are still raging in not just the Palisades, but they're still raging in Altadena, Pasadena area.
So this is a massive area, Jill, isn't it? I mean, from the Palisades to Pasadena, what was that, 30, 40 miles, isn't it? I mean, that's a huge area, huge area.
It is absolutely enormous, yes, it's huge. And so we, in Hollywood, we're kind of in the middle of this. So we've got the Palisades to the west, and then the valley to the north. And, and the canyons, and as you know, cut across the Hollywood and Santa Monica Mountains. So they create this tunnel of wind and fire and smoke. So you shouldn't go out anyway at the moment, because the air quality is so bad, all of those toxic little particles in the air. And talking about older houses with lead paint, all of that goes up in the air. It's really quite dangerous.
Yeah, and is the advice to you from the authorities to stay in? Because, as you say, if you go out, we're looking at some of the pictures of this enormous sort of plume of smoke, cloud of smoke hanging over great swathes of the city. So presumably they're saying don't go out and breathe that stuff.
Exactly, shelter in place. And the most helpful thing that everybody can do is just get out of the way of the emergency services. Nobody wants to be responsible for blocking up the fire engines. I think we all saw that devastating footage of all those cars smashed into each other last night in the Palisades. And they were all smashed together because A, the drivers had been forced to evacuate because they couldn't get parts, but B, the fire trucks had smushed them all to one side because they were blocking the route to the fire. And I think one of the images, and all of the images are devastating, but to see two lifeguard huts go up in flames, you don't expect fire to exist within a few feet of the ocean.
Yeah, that's right. Well, when Baywatch is affected, you know how serious it is. But this is not the time for flippant jokes. Interesting you talking about LA house insurance, property insurance. That takes me back. This is why it's so expensive to insure your homes in LA. This and the earthquakes. Listen, Jill, really good to talk to you. You stay safe and thank you very much for coming on. All my best to you. That's Jill Pringle, old friend of mine, former Daily Mirror journalist, excellent journalist she is too. She lives out there interviewing movie stars these days. All right for some, isn't it? But right now, all those people in that city, this isn't a story about celebrities. This is a story about a massive city that is being consumed by fire. I mean, it really is right now. And as Jill just said, it is not under control. They give you these announcements, it's 30% under control. Well, she just said they've just announced it's 0% under control. So God knows what's going to happen. Our hearts go out to the people of LA. They really do. So we hope they all stay safe and we hope they get through this. Particularly I do. Got a good place in my heart, that city.